page 186. Usually we start with Matovu, but this is also another way to start service. Every morning when we wake up, we thank God that we woke up and that we're here. And we say Modeh. For a woman, you say Modeh Ani. For a man, you say Moda. The opposite. For a man, you say Modeh. And for the woman, you say Moda. Okay, so let's all join. Modeh Ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam shehezarta b'nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha rabba emunatecha. Let's try again. Modeh ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam shehezarta b'nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha rabba emunatecha. Shabbat Shalom. Sharon is here. Shabbat Shalom, Sharon. We'll continue on page 194. And let's join together. Let's read together this morning all the prayers. Praise to you, Adonai God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory, if one of them be boardly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rafeh kol basar umaplia la'asod. Please join me with Elohai Neshama. Let's turn to page 218. 218. We'll join together in singing Psalm 150.
Hallelujah.
together, let's read on page 223. It's 223. Praise are you, sovereign of the wonders, crown in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty. Yitkada, Yitkada, Shme Rabba, Belmadi Berachirute, Bemlich Mahulte, Behaye Honu, Viamehon, Uhaye de Chobet Israel, Bagala, Bagala, Ukari Behimeru, Yesh Me Rabba Mevorach, Leholam Olam Me Almaya, Yidbarach, Yidbarach, Vishtabach, Vidpar, Vidrama, Vidnase, Vidadar, Vidale, Vidalal, Shmed Kureshar, Rihu, Lela Min Kol Birchata Veshirata, Tushpechata Venehemata, Damiran Bianema, Veimeru. And we rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Adonai Mevorach, Baruch Adonai Mevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. And together on page 229, it's 229, on top, in the beginning, even then, a new light was shone for the righteous, a promise that new light would become the catalyst first for order, and then for hope. Author of language and light, help us to use the words that you have, cast light into dark waters, and draw justice and truth. Baruch Atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot. And on page 231, together, once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical living, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us towards destiny, by hard events, by freedom's now urgent voice, with explode and confirm who we are. We don't like living, but God loves becoming. Baruch Atah Adonai, Haboher be'amo Yisrael be'achava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. And please be seated. And together, V'yavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi metzavecham hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecham v'dibartam b'ham בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשובך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו מזודפות בין עיניך וטפתם המזוזות ביתך וישריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי Vitem Kedoshim Lelohem, Ani Adonai Elohem, Asher Hotzeti Etchem Meretz Mitzrayim, Yod Lahem Lelohim, Ani Adonai Elohem. On page 240, we join together in singing Michamocha. Who is like you, O God, among all the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? We sing Nichamocha as we remember crossing the sea and witnessing the miracle and singing the joyful words. שירה חדשה שיפו גאולים לשמך שפת חיים יחד כולם עוד והמליכו ויאמרו אדוני מלך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופדנו מחיותו בישראל גולנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. And on page 242, we rise for tefillah. If you're able, we reached the heart of our prayer, tefillah. Adonai sefata tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, מביא גאולה לבני בניכם, למען שמו באחווה, מלך חסר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל, אתה רק להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחייך הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומציר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו. לישני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן עד עליות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. As many of you know that Tefillah is one of the ancient prayers. It dates back to the Second Temple, and it entered our first prayer book that was created in the 6th century. So Tefillah is very, very ancient. And when we get to Avodah actually substitutes for sacrifices that were done in the First and Second Temple. So Avodah means work, because sacrifices were considered to be work. So when we get to Avodah, which is Retzeh, it talks about sacrifices that now became our prayers. We don't do any more animal sacrifices. So our prayers substituted the sacrifices, animal sacrifices. And we continue with Kiddusha on page 248. And when we get to Kadosh, 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 right, we lift up. Kadosh means holy. And we want to reach up and get closer to God. That's why we lift on our toes. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב להיות נביאך, וקרא זה על זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד אלוהינו, ואבינו מלכנו, ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, מלכי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחה אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. On page 250, we rejoice with Yismechu as we celebrate Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutech, shomerei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, onet Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutech, shomerei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, onet Shabbat. Continue with Avodah, with the Tefillah. It's still part of the Tefillah on page 253. Page 253, together we offer thanks to God for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing ever in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings of God. Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. It's very interesting that in Tefillah, that on Shabbat, we only praise God and thank God. But during the week, and weekly, there are more prayers. It's called bakashot. Bakashot means to ask. So during the week, there are 18 prayers inside of the Tefillah, additional prayers for asking God for different things, different themes. But on Shabbat, we only thank and we only praise. And together on page 257, ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds, in our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land and Zion restored, in all lands. You are one, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. Modim on page 256. Page 256. Together we acknowledge with thanks that you are one, Adonai, God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that experience every day, and for wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O God, one whose mercies never end, a compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'el lehodot. Let's take a few moments for silent meditation. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue with the Torah reading. We are actually very fortunate this morning that Esther Brill will be reading from Torah. We'll take out the Torah and rejoice on page 364. It's page 364. Esther will be reading from Parsha Vayeshev. After she reads, we'll discuss and have a short discussion on the Torah portion. As we take out the Torah from the ark, I invite you to rise. Ki Devar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael B'Kdushato, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai Tzidkenu Moshmo Yada. Ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. And please be seated. Please be seated, Esther and Archie. You want to come together? If you would like to follow along, Shelley, do you have a page number there? Do you have a page number? No? It's Parsha Vayeshev. I'll tell you in a second. It's page 246. 246. Make sure it's there.
Here, this. So we need to.
Okay, so we'll recite together the
Yes.
prayers, right, as a congregation. Baruch hu Adonai Havarach, Baruch Adonai Havarach, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv be'eretz Canaan ele toldot Yaakov Yosef ben Sheva Esrei Shana haya ro'eh et achav batzon v'huna ton v'hunar et b'nei vilcha yet b'nei zilpa neshei aviv vayavo Yosef et divatam ra'ah el avicham Yisrael ohav et Yosef mikol banav kiven sukunim hu lo ve'asav lo ketonet pasim.
And together we recite the blessing after. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. You say Yashar Koach. Thank you, Esther. That was beautiful. Oh, Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Hamara.
Wonderful, wonderful. So proud of our students who study Torah. And Marlene also joined us on Zoom. I see she's there. So we have people from Torah Club. Let's dress the Torah and put it back in the ark with respect, so then we can continue our Torah discussion. On page 370, please rise. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. יא לה 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 as we open the ark, let's rise as we put the Torah in the ark. So I am going to give this handout, and for those who are on screen, I will share the screen. Try not to read the chat, right? Because you press enter. So I'm so glad to have you in the congregation so we can have discussion. I'm going to share the screen, and people on the screen, please tell me if you can see it. Can you see it, Marlene? Okay, I guess they can see it.
Yes, yes,
Can you see Marlene? Okay.
yes.
Okay, great. A little bit bigger? Okay. Okay, so the Torah portion is Vayeshev. There is so much going on, that's why it has very long summary. So anybody would like to read, either somebody online or in the congregation would like to read the summary? Okay, thank you.
and tries to seduce him. Angry because Joseph refuses her advances, she reports to Potiphar that Joseph tried to force himself upon her. Potiphar has Joseph thrown into prison. There he meets Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker. They tell him of their dreams, and Joseph interprets them. Later, as Joseph has predicted, the cupbearer is returned to Pharaoh's service. The chief baker is to death.
Thank you. Well, there are three themes, as you can see: suspicion and hostility among children, assuming responsibility for what we promise, refusing to demean or embarrass others, and the third is measuring loyalty and success. So I decided to concentrate on the first theme and discuss a little bit the suspicion and hostility among children. So the first question is, what went wrong between Joseph and his brothers, right? That was a big question, and many Torah scholars have, of course, many opinions, right? Some of them try to justify Joseph, some trying to justify the brothers. So it's very difficult to read between the lines in the Torah and interpret it, as you know. So here's the question for you, right? What went wrong? What went wrong between the brothers? And if you...
Very jealous of him. And what made it worse was when Joseph was given this beautiful coat of many colors. That was it. That really hit them. And they decided to murder him. But he was saved. He was saved. Right? And well, he had to become a very humble person. That's the story about
Thank you. Yes. I don't know if people online can hear Cheryl. Probably not, right? Marlene, right? You couldn't hear?
Not very well.
Okay. So maybe we can use the microphone and, pass the microphone maybe around. I mean, if you say, no? She couldn't hear you because there is nothing to fix you up. So, is it on? Yep. Okay, so after you use it, you can spray it and maybe put it.
Okay, good Shabbos. My feeling is that since Joseph was the youngest child of his father's old age, he became the favorite child. And so though he would go and see what his brothers were doing in the field, he would come back and say nasty things. And so they became aware of this, surely, and they had an intent dislike that turned to hate after he appeared in this coat of many colors. It showed that their father was truly making a decision of who was favored amongst his children. Because of that, the brothers got together, and at first there was a feeling that they should murder him. But Judah said, no, you can't do that. We'll sell him, we'll get rid of him, and we'll tell Dad that he was attacked by a wild beast, and see, there's blood upon this. So that's the beginning of Joseph's adventure in Egypt.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Marlene, did you hear? Everybody heard them? Marlene?
Your reaction?
Were you able to hear now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just I want to make sure that everybody participates. So again, it was beautiful, introduction what you said, and but still, the Torah scholars puzzle whom, what side should they be on? Text, yes. RJ, you wanted to say something?
Well, I think the comment you have here from Morgenstern is very telling. Partiality is injustice. It's on the comment C.
You're looking at C?
Yes.
Okay, so let me scroll.
The second part of C, where it says partiality is injustice. Jacob was at fault for manifesting greater love for Joseph than for his other sons, and for spoiling him as he did. Partiality is always a form of injustice, and injustice is always wrong. You don't just see it in families, which you do, when one child is favored over another, but you see it throughout our society. If you think about schools where one student is favored over another student, or you see it in business where one colleague is favored over another colleague, you see the favoritism elevates one, and that's very good for the person being elevated, but it diminishes everyone else. And when people feel diminished, they feel angry, they feel jealous. And so although you may think that you're helping someone by favoring them and giving extra attention to them and giving extra benefits to them, when there are others to be compared with, everything you do to give one a favor makes others feel less favored. And there are ways to deal with that, and there are ways to handle that, but it does not seem in the Torah portion that was accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. Right, Jacob was favoring his son, Joseph. He felt, so maybe other people, maybe Sherry, would you like to read the part A? About Joseph's character? Thanks, Arji, for sharing that. So basically, we also see parents in our society who favor one child over another, and that always leads to jealousy, it leads to problems, and it's not only in the family, it's also in the workspace, right? Could be, leads to jealousy and trouble. So this is one reason, right, why those problems arose, because Jacob favored Joseph. Would you like to read A?
Sure.
Okay.
Joseph's character. Eli Wiesel comments on Joseph's character. Jacob refused him nothing. He owed, my glasses are steaming up. he owned the most beautiful clothes, for he liked to be regarded as graceful and elegant. He craved attention. He knew he was the favorite and often boasted of it. Moreover, he was given to whims and frequently was impertinent, arrogant, vain, insensitive to other people's feelings. He said freely whatever was on his mind. We know the consequences. He was hated, mistreated, and finally sold by his brothers, who in truth were ready to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to read the other little part?
Yes. Okay. Joseph loved himself.
Joseph loved himself.
Right.
Maurice, Samuel in conversation with Mark Van Doren. Samuel, do you ever think of Joseph as a loving person? Van Doren, nope. He's a person who loved to be loved. He assumed that people loved him.
Okay, thank you. So obviously you see these commentators are on the side of the brothers, right? They're kind of blaming Joseph for this hostility. B, let's read B by Rashi. The next section that by B. Yeah, Rashi.
Okay.
If you could take the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Rashi claims that Joseph took advantage of every opportunity to gossip about his brothers to his father. Though he knew the truth about what they were doing, he deliberately misinterpreted whatever they said or did to his own selfish advantage. He slandered their intentions as well as their accomplishments. For this reason, Rashi concludes, they mistrusted and hated him. It's clear that most Jewish interpreters evaluate Joseph as an immature, self-centered gossip. Some even blame Jacob for spoiling him. Why, they ask, did Jacob single out Joseph for such special treatment and affection? Rabbi Judah believed that Jacob favored Joseph because they looked alike. Rabbi Nehemiah thought that Jacob loved Joseph because Jacob spent more time teaching Joseph the fundamentals of his tradition than any of their other sons. Could that explain Jacob's preference for Joseph? Might this also explain why brothers were jealous of him?
Well, thank you. So again, we see that these commentators kind of saying that it's Joseph's fault. There are also commentators that saying that the brothers were insensitive to Joseph because, he lost his mom, right? He was very young, and he kind of was an outsider. He was from different mother. He was an outsider, and the brothers didn't take him to their group, right? Kind of. They isolated him, and Joseph resented that. And that's why he came up with all those stories about the brothers, and also, so why did he come up with the stories about the brothers? Maybe it were false stories or not? And he also came up with all dreams saying, you're gonna bow to me. Some Torah scholars saying because he wanted to win Jacob's attention, right? He wanted to be loved by Jacob. And it's created even more hostility. So I don't know how you feel. Like, are you on the side of Jacob, on the side of Joseph, or on the side of brothers? It's kind of...
I think Joseph became a product of his place. The youngest, the wife had died, the mother. He was not sent to the fields as the much older brothers. And by the time he was 17, he became, I don't want to say enamored of himself, but rather narcissistic, because his dad had dwelt so much on him and had tried to teach him and seemed to give him many more opportunities than he gave the older brothers who were sent to the fields to watch after the flock. So, in a way, I feel sorry for Joseph because he was a product of his environment, and his father didn't do right by him, in my opinion. He didn't teach him to be humble, to be part of the family, to offer to work, to try to really become a part of the family. He put himself aside, really, which was a tragedy, or not, depending on whether you think God put him in that position so that he would experience everything. So that's my thought.
Yes, thank you. Beautiful. Yes, Jacob also to blame that he isolated his son from other sons, and it's parents' obligation to teach children to get along, right? To live in peace. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. I mean, this is how we teach our children that we are family. So Jacob kind of failed to do that. So any other comments? Any other readings you find? Go ahead. The little spray.
I have a question. I have a question more than a comment.
Yes.
Does not later in the reading, we kind of find that I interpret that Joseph learns a little bit of redemption or humility through hardship. the fact that he becomes a slave, but works himself up to becoming a manager. That's only done by doing good deeds, possibly. He rejects the advances of someone's wife, and then is helpful in interpreting dreams. So I don't know if then later, because of the hardships that were foisted upon him, he actually learned to become a better person eventually. But I agree with the idea that as we nurture children, especially that we're careful about who we give our favors to. And I also remember a Broadway show about Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor something or other. But
Yes.
that's another.
Yes, well, yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, this is another view, very interesting view, that the hardship to be included, right? It was Joseph's hardship to be included in the family, brought him to be, a ruler of Egypt, he was a ruler, not a ruler, but a kind of a right hand of the ruler of Egypt. He learned how to survive, right? That's what you're trying to say. He learned how to survive. And we also call it a God's plan, right? So it's all supposed to happen. Joseph was supposed to be sold to Egyptians, and he was supposed to go to Egypt, and without that story, the Exodus would not happen. So it all leads to later on in the Torah to Exodus, when then later on all the brothers of Joseph came to Egypt during famine, and they stayed there. And that's later on, new Pharaoh came to power, and that's how, if Joseph wouldn't come to Egypt, Exodus wouldn't happen, right? Let's put it this way. Marlene, do you have any comments?
Well, I was just thinking in this discussion, I definitely agree about what's been said about Joseph, but I also think on behalf of the brothers, not only did he report on them, but he was really pushing it with that dream in which they're bowing down to him. And I certainly wouldn't justify what they did, but I'm today feeling a little bit more sympathetic toward the brother.
Mm-hmm. Right. Even, I think that the dreams, it was true, that what he saw in the dream, it was true, but you're saying he shouldn't reveal his dreams to the brothers to aggravate them, right?
Yeah, he seemed totally insensitive to them.
Right. It goes both ways, right? As my husband always say, 2 wrongs don't make it right. So it goes both ways, the hostility. So any other comments? Just please keep this handout. If you find this interesting later, you can read it after Shabbat lunch, or any other comments anybody wants to make? Well, thank you for the productive Torah study, and of course the Torah reading, always a treat. And we'll continue with Aleinu on page 586. Page 586. We rise for Aleinu. So this Shabbat, we remember those who died recently. Miriam Rogachevsky, a grandmother of Adriana Castro, Deborah Platt-Levy, cousin of Linda Platt, and Lisa Altman. Yorzeit's observance this Shabbat, we remember Mireille Astarita, Josephine Orbach, Mildred Beckwith, Stanley Burchett, Alberto Beaton, Frederick Brewer, Sid Dorfman, Abram Doran, Peter Fisher, Nathan Fox, Carol Freeman, Dolores Freed, Harvey Gottlieb, Mayor Grisbord, Sherry Harner, Molly Havitt, Donald Hogan, Ethel Hyman, Darcy Katz, Florence Gershon, Milton Conkin, C. Light, Harriet Leventhal, Sima Novogenets, Harold Nassenbaum, Edwin Olson, Israel Parnas, Edward Pearlstein, William Silver, Catherine Steele, Matilda Yarmel. And if anybody remembers the Shabbat, a person that you keep in heart, you can say the name. Thank you. And those on Zoom, if you have names to mention. On page 598, we recite together Kaddish Yatom, Mornis Kaddish. Yit Kadal, Vayit Kadash, Shmei Rabbah, Belmadi, Brachi, Rutei, Vayamlich Machuteh, B'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayed, Dechol Beit Yisrael, B'agalav, V'zman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Mavarach Le'olam Olmei Maya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Dekutshah, Le'ela min kol birchata, B'shirata, Tushpechata, V'nechemata, Da'amiran Be'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, Chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and Israel. May we say together, Amen. Please be seated. Short announcements. Again, thank you for everybody being here, and Esther for beautiful chanting, and supporting our Shabbat services and being here is very important. No religious school this Sunday, obviously. Tomorrow night, Zoom candle lighting for Hanukkah, first night of Hanukkah. You can find Zoom link on the website. It's very rare. Hanukkah falls during Thanksgiving. Every night we'll light candles, Hanukkah candle on Zoom, so please join from your home. Next Friday night, first Friday family Shabbat, is Hanukkah Shabbat. Everybody will receive goodie bags, and everybody can make edible desserts. Children and adults can make edible desserts. First you make it, then you eat it. So we'll have somebody who will show us how to make it, and it's going to be fun. Everybody will be masked, so it's safe. And we wish Mazel Tov to Robert Conway and publication of his children's book, The Floating Rock. So he illustrated the beautiful book and he wrote it. I guess he's a temple member, right? Robert Conway? Okay, that's great. So next Sunday is religious school Hanukkah program, and so many events, and all the information about how to make donations to Afghan refugees and support Haiti, please look on the website. There is no Sunday school. Right, it's Thanksgiving weekend. Sunday school resumes on Wednesday. On Wednesday. So, any other announcements? We'll say Kiddush together. We have a little gonek, some cookies and water, so please stay for conversation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. It's good, I get wine, but there is no bar mitzvah, we get wine, you know? And Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And please take a piece of challah. I didn't touch. We'll conclude with a happy song. It says Shalom. You know the words, or if you need the words, page 647, page 647. Oh, say Shalom Ibrahim. Shabbat Shalom.